First off, I want to say that it's just wonderful that the Yadkinville Cultural Arts Center has hosted the TWS show 2 years in a row. It's a beautiful facility and it's great to see the works hanging there. Filament is the title for the show. Tying Together the Strands of Our Tapestries is my subtitle for this. And I'd like to start by saying the art and craft of tapestry weaving is alive and well. Contrary to popular belief, you who weave tapestry might feel when you do a demonstration of tapestry at events and hear comments that they didn't know anyone wove tapestry anymore. A friend relayed this interchange at her blog a few years ago when she had an exhibit of her tapestries. This is Kathy Sporing's blog, My Life is But a Tapestry. So I'm going to read what she said at that blog post. She says, "This is a true conversation from the opening. This was with an elderly man who stood and stared very closely at my tapestries for a long time. So I approached him and asked if he had any questions about the work. Man, do you know what these remind me of? They remind me of tapestries." Kathy says, "Well, they are tapestries." Man, no, I mean real tapestries. The ones that are hand-woven on big looms in France. Kathy says, "Well, these tapestries were hand-woven on a big loom right here in my studio." Man, here in Grand Junction? Me, yes, or Kathy, yes, on a loom just like the ones used in French studios, and very similar to looms used here in the Southwest by Navajo weavers. Man, but hooked up to a computer? Kathy, no, all hand-woven. Man, but in France they use very small individual threads to make the tapestries, which may explain why he had his nose practically on the tapestry looking so closely at it," Kathy writes. Kathy says, "Yes, I use threads too. It's all yarn that's tightly woven together to make the images." Man, well, do you know what they remind me of? They remind me of tapestries. Kathy says, "What could I say? Yes, I can see how they would." So this is one of Kathy's tapestries. She is in Grand Junction, Colorado. So yes, tapestry weaving is alive and well, even if how it's done may be puzzling to some viewers. I don't think it's puzzling to anybody in the room, though. You can certainly see why the vitality of contemporary tapestry in this Tapestry Weavers South members exhibit is so beautiful. These few slides are from last year's exhibit here at the Arts Center, our 20th anniversary exhibit. So let me describe a bit about the process of tapestry making, and again, all of you in this room know this, so I'll go through it pretty quickly. In weaving, there are two components: the warp that's on the loom and the weft that you use to weave with. Tapestry is a type of weaving that's weft-faced in that the weft totally covers the warp most of the time. And most often the wefts only travel back and forth in areas where the colors needed for the image being woven. However, within that simple weave, the traditions and complexity are many. For instance, in one tradition, tapestries are woven from the reverse side so that the weaver doesn't see the resulting image that she's weaving unless she looks into a mirror. This is Betty Hilton Nash's piece on the loom that you see out at in the gallery. In another tradition, the work's done from the front, and the weaver sees the tapestry as it will appear when finished. Lynn Main, for instance, is working at the front of the loom. And you might notice that her design is turned 90 degrees to the way the finished piece will hang. Some weavers weave edge to edge, changing color as needed at each shape, while other weavers build shapes as they move along. Then there's the matter of looms. Almost any loom can be used for tapestry, from a floor loom to a specialized tapestry loom, to looms made of simple wood frames or plumbing pipe. Essentially, all that's needed is for the warp to be tight and the loom to be strong enough to support that tension. So on the left, you see Susan Martin Maffei sitting near the top of a tapestry. Her loom is a scaffold frame. On the right, you see Louise Halsey standing at her floor loom to weave. Louise has some pieces out in the case outside, I think. Dorina Scalia has frame looms in this case that she's sampling on, looms of different kinds. To illustrate the importance or the lack thereof of the loom, once when a group was gathered for a workshop with master tapestry weaver Archie Brennan, much discussion was going on about the best loom to use for tapestry. Holly, you may have been there for that. I'm not sure. It's years ago at Hambidge Center when Archie and Susan were there. The group who were taking the workshop with Archie sat around in a circle in the afternoon, and we discussed back and forth the pros and cons of various looms that we had or had heard of. Finally, when we asked Archie his opinion, he said, "After all, the quality of the weaving starts with the weaver and works out." End of our discussion about the best loom to use. Archie Brennan at his website, this is a screenshot from his loom diagrams at his website, has through the years provided these for weavers to download and make their own looms from. Just brilliant ideas about simple frames, and he's been very generous to provide those for us, the weavers. Setting up a loom may be as simple as wrapping the warp around a frame and then spacing it evenly. These are some students at the University of North Georgia at a little short workshop I did with them earlier this year. Spacing the warp evenly. Or it may be more complicated as when setting up a larger loom. This is one of my upright tapestry looms, and I'm preparing it with a 60-inch wide warp, about 4 yards long at 6 ends per inch. I do make warps with these looms on a warping mill. It could be also done on a warping frame, and I make several warps when I do wide warps rather than one big one. I use water in orange juice jugs as weights to supply the tension as I'm winding on the warp, as Leslie did on the big loom that's in the fiber room. After the warp goes on the beam, I thread the heddles, and then I place the threads through the reed, and finally tie on. So from a frame loom that you wrap around and can get the warp on, if it's narrow, fairly quickly, it might take 3 or 4 days for me to get the warp on a larger loom like this. Now, I want to talk a little bit about American Tapestry Alliance and regional tapestry organizations like Tapestry Weavers South. In the United States in the past, there wasn't as much awareness of tapestry as a contemporary art medium as with some other fiber arts, like art quilts, for instance. Although there's a long-standing tradition and appreciation of Navajo weaving in the Southwest, other tapestry designing and weaving was still not as well known. Other weaving traditions and fabrics woven on floor looms were more familiar, I think, whether functional weavings or art pieces. However, a European revival of tapestry in the 1950s and the fiber art movement of the 1960s played roles in the evolving interest in tapestry as an art form. Today, tapestry is a vital art medium as seen in this exhibit that's on display here. In considering the promotion of tapestry in the United States since the 1960s, one can't overstate the importance of American Tapestry Alliance to the state of the art today. This is a screenshot from the web page of ATA. What became the ATA started in the 1960s when 2 tapestry weavers, Hal Painter and Jim Brown, had dreams of establishing an alliance of like-minded individuals to promote tapestry. By 1982, they'd formed the American Tapestry Alliance with the hope of uniting American tapestry weavers. One goal for the new organization was to promote awareness and appreciation of tapestries designed in America. One way that could happen was by sponsoring national juried exhibits to showcase tapestries. They also hoped to encourage the collection of tapestries by both corporate and private individuals. Another goal was to promote workshops and seminars. In the late 1980s, because of many reasons, but primarily the declining health of the founders and then the passing of Hal Painter, there was a lull in ATA activities. However, in the early 1990s, ATA was reimagined and revitalized, and in the following decades has continued to evolve, and membership has grown to several hundred members. Many exhibits, both juried and non-juried, workshops and retreats have been held and catalogs published. In the mid-2000s, ATA took over the sponsorship of an unjuried small format exhibit held in conjunction with Convergence. This popular exhibit concept began when Kathy Todd Hooker organized a show that was called It's About Time in Portland, Oregon for Convergence in 1996. It was so exciting to see the variety of tapestries that had come together with no juror making the selection. It was open to all in the world who were willing to contribute a small tapestry no bigger than 10 inches square. I was in Portland at Convergence with Noel Thurner, who at that time owned North Fjord Fiber. And when we saw the show, we were so thrilled to see the energy in those small tapestries that we really wanted to make sure that the exhibit happened again in Atlanta in 1998 when Convergence was to be held there. That incentive was instrumental in gathering together the 18 founding members of Tapestry Weavers South. And I'll say more about that in a minute. ATA continues to promote workshops, exhibits, retreats. Terry Bryson's been very involved in the current ATB 11 exhibit that ATA has promoted this last year and this year and the year before. Many resources are available at the ATA website, really more than you even could imagine. I keep being astounded every time I visit ATA's website and dig a little deeper into what's there. The web link is easy to find if you do a search for American Tapestry Alliance or type in americantapestryalliance.org. In the United States, over the years, several regional tapestry organizations have formed since the 1980s, also primarily to promote awareness and practice of hand-woven tapestry. Although these groups aren't part of ATA in any formal way, many of the goals of the American Tapestry Alliance are shared by the regional tapestry groups. Betty Hilton Nash should speak more about Tapestry Weavers West, I know, because you've been a member, probably still are, of TWW for a long time, I think. It began in the mid-1980s, and as their website states, a group of tapestry artists working in San Francisco felt the need for increased dialogue. Tapestry Weavers West came into being at an informal gathering in October 1985. Its membership now extends beyond the Bay Area to include people up and down the West Coast and across the US and Canada. Tapestry Artists of Puget Sound was founded in 1990 for the exchange of techniques, philosophy, and inspiration within the world of tapestry. The group provides a forum for the exchange of ideas and an opportunity for critical review through discussion, exhibition, and publication. TAPS is different from other regional groups in the US in that it's a juried group and only open to tapestry weavers residing within the greater Puget Sound area. Twine, or Tapestry Weavers in New England, was formed in 1991 to support contemporary tapestry artists and to preserve and promote the art of tapestry. In fact, my first workshop with two people I consider to be my tapestry mentors, Archie Brennan and Susan Martin Maffei, was at a 1994 twine retreat in Harrisville, New Hampshire. Now, my favorite regional group, Tapestry Weavers South, began in 1996 when 18 people interested in tapestry attended a retreat in Dahlonega, Georgia that became the initial organizational meeting for TWS. As I mentioned before, our very first group effort was to organize an international small format non-jury tapestry exhibit in Atlanta for the 1998 convergence. Why not start a group and organize an international exhibit as your first major thing? Our membership includes tapestry weavers of all skill levels and primarily in the southeastern states. However, membership in TWS is open to all individuals interested in tapestry, and we currently have 64 members. One of the goals of the Tapestry Weavers South organization is to present contemporary tapestry works to the public and also to plan educational opportunities for members. And I feel both of these things TWS has done exceptionally well in the past 2 decades. Tapestry Weavers South, the brainchild of several tapestry weavers who lived in the Southeast and members of ATA, several of you are in the room today. We were interested in having a way to get together regionally and to share ideas and information. And we contacted all the tapestry weavers who we knew, and through word of mouth were able to pull together the 18 founding members in Dahlonega, Georgia. That's a photo collage back in the day when photos were printed on paper that you took to the CVS to have developed. Photo collage, and it shows some of the people who were involved and some of the activities that we were doing then. Now, I'd like to show you a few of the TWS members' studios and works in progress in the next few slides. And thank you to everybody who sent things to me. I've used most of everything that I received. I did not use every image, so my apologies if you don't see something of yours among the ones that come up next. You will see many types of looms being used, as well as a great variety of images that our members are designing and weaving. You saw an earlier image of Lynn Main working at an upright, large high warp loom. Here she is on another piece. This one's also being woven, turned 90 degrees to the direction that it will hang. Susan Iverson has a piece on her floor loom. In this case, she's inserted a wedge of cardboard at the right-hand side that will be removed later, and she shapes and will pull the warps and shape the tapestry. Terry Stewart has very intricate, detailed designs usually, and so just like pixels in a digital photo, you would imagine that the closer the warp threads are, the smaller and closer they are, the more detailed the design could be. And that's what you're seeing developing in Terry's photo here. Betty Hilton Nash working on her tapestry that's hanging in the gallery. You can see 2 views of how her hands are working through the warp. Dorina Scalia with 2 of her 2 views of a tapestry in progress. Regina Dale and her floor loom with tapestry in progress. Another image of one of Regina Dale's pieces. You can see a textured yarn used in the face of the little sheep here. Connie Lippert, who has a couple of pieces hanging in the exhibit, works in a technique called wedge weave, taking the weft out of the horizontal direction to the warp. And that causes then the edges to bulge a bit, but bulge in a beautifully planned and controlled way, the way Connie handles it. Another of Connie's pieces on her floor loom. Joan Griffin has a large tapestry loom, large high warp loom, and you see a piece that's underway on the left and 2 versions of her cartoon on the right. She has smaller versions of those clipped up beside her loom for reference. Another of Joan Griffin's pieces. Liliana Crispy with tapestry bobbins hanging. If you'll notice carefully behind the bobbins, you can see the lines that curve gently. She's using a lot of eccentric weft in this piece, this detail of the piece, and her hands at work. Helene Cree with tapestry in progress. You see her cartoon behind. And more progress. The title of the tapestry is Famished Wolf Attracted by Pretty Sheep, from a 12th century bestiary, size 45 by 35 inches. And here's a detail of the sheep. Those pretty sheep look pretty worried at this point, I think. Mary Jane Lord in Tallahassee with a piece underway. Now you notice that the cartoon behind the warp varies in the way that people use them. Mary Jane in this case has a colored cartoon behind. Helene's was a black and white line drawing. Another of Mary Jane Lord's. Sarah Thompson has a tapestry diary underway. This is an interesting thought. She's assigned colors to forecast temperatures of the days and using those colors to weave into her tapestry diary. Another of her pieces. Jennifer Sargent at work on her high warp loom, and the detail of a piece that's hanging in the gallery. This of Jennifer Sargent's was in last year's TWS exhibit. I realized that when I looked at my slides of the overview of last year's show. Another beautiful, incredible piece of Jennifer Sargent's. Molly Elkine warping of her upright floor loom, upright tapestry loom, standing on a step stool, and the piece underway, and that also is hanging in the gallery. So I was excited to see that when I got here. Another of Molly's pieces in progress. Leslie's warping the big wide loom that's down in the fiber room, with bottles of water to give the weights. And it worked pretty well, Leslie said. Right? Nancy Nordquist has an upright tapestry loom as well as some smaller frame looms. This is a piece underway on her fireside cantilever loom, a detail. This is a piece of mine that is being woven, turned 90 degrees to the way that it hangs. Why do you turn things 90 degrees? In my case, because I wanted to weave those stems of the bloodroot plant as smoothly as I could, and that was easier to do in the horizontal direction than it was trying to work those thin stems up the warp. Another piece underway on my big loom. This was the warp that I was preparing in the earlier slides. Now, I just finished 8 weeks at Penland School of Crafts along with Bhakti Zeke as my co-teacher. And at Penland there was a tapestry loom that I had never used before up there. It did not have a warp beam at the top. It did have a beam at the bottom to attach the warp to and roll it up as it was finished. So I weighted the warps with every lead weight that we had in the weaving studio, plus went out to the driveway and picked up stones until I could have enough weight on the warps to give it good tension. And I really enjoyed doing that. Dorena set up a small frame loom with weights on it, and that worked pretty well. So I think that holds a lot of potential for doing things with warps. This was the finished piece that was being woven. We sold it just a few nights ago at the Student Scholarship Auction. And thank you. Happy tapestry weaving to all of you. That's my show and tell. If you have any questions. Please let me know. And thank you everybody who contributed slides of works in progress. I know that a lot of times we see finished work, but occasionally it's good to look at the way other people do their warping, do their cartoon, do their whole process. And especially, the way I was preparing this was as if there were people in the audience who really didn't know about tapestry weaving. So I think it's important anytime and every time you get a chance to do demos of tapestry in the public eye to help people understand about weaving of this kind. Very often we know that we see weavers throwing shovels, which are lovely to do in public places, in public demonstrations. So spreading the word about tapestry is something I think is all of us can do in our own place. So thanks again. All right.
April, I just want to have this lovely presentation. Will you bring that to